I'm the scheming villain in a family drama, causing trouble wherever I go. When I died, my parents were busy sending off their beloved adopted daughter in marriage, her groom to be my own fiancé. I used my last breath to make a desperate call for help, only to hear, "Quit messing around." I died on their wedding day, during the family toast to their happiness. After my rebirth, I gave up trying to be loved, surrendering everything and fleeing that house. Yet, my parents and brother cried, begging for my forgiveness. When I opened my eyes again, the sight of my pink princess room left me stunned. How many years had it been since I last saw it? In my past life, when Linda came, she envied my room. My parents, feeling sorry for her, redecorated hers to match mine. "You're both little Alden princesses. We treat you the same, no favorites." I raged at seeing Linda with an identical princess bed and teddy bear, demolishing the room. Who was she to be treated like me? That room of 10 years disappeared, and I got scolded. My aunt interrupted my thoughts. "Miss, the Mr. and Mrs. are back." I stumbled downstairs. There she was, the person I once despised most, Linda. In a faded yellow dress, she timidly sat on the couch. "Alice, come here, meet Linda. She'll be your sister from now on," Mom said, waving me over. Seeing my lack of response, Dad patiently added, "Linda's parents were in a car accident. She's alone now. Her dad was my comrade. I can't let her suffer." "Would Alice like a sister?" Mom coaxed. 10-year-old Alice hadn't wanted a sister, throwing tantrums. "Why are you being so spoiled, Alice?" My parents scolded for the first time. "She's so pitiful. If we don't take her in, she has nowhere to go." My brother added, "Alice, having a sister means you'll have a playmate." With her soft demeanor and kind nature, Linda stole my family. I tried to drive her away, only to earn their disdain. They favored her more. The new Alice, reborn after dying on the street, didn't care anymore. I lowered my eyes and whispered, "Whatever." That night, my mom came to my room. "Alice, honey, are you upset?" I shook my head. "Alice will always be my favorite princess. Having a sister won't change that. You'll have someone to play with now," she lied. Everything would change. What was once mine alone would be shared with Linda. She sang me a lullaby, leaving only after my eyes closed. I knew she'd then go sing to Linda as well. 2 months into Linda's stay, it was my birthday. The house was decked with balloons and toys. My aunt dressed me in a new dress, and on my head was the pink crown from Dad. Expressionless, I walked downstairs. "Alice, have you seen Linda?" Mom asked anxiously. I shook my head. Being reborn, I hadn't targeted Linda, but couldn't interact normally with her either. I ignored her. Enzo frowned. "Did you bully Linda, Alice? Why else would she just vanish?" I looked up at my brother. There was a time when he cherished me, and I would boast of the world's best brother. Now, after just a month, Linda was like a real sister to him. Blood ties clearly didn't matter. Linda would sweetly call him brother, bring him milk, say studying was hard work. Unlike me, who'd pester him to play. When they didn't find her at home, my parents nearly called the cops. "Be good, Alice. Stay home, we'll be back soon," they said and left in a hurry to find Linda. I calmly read on the couch, waiting till darkness fell. They didn't return. My aunt lit a candle with me. I scraped the "happy birthday" words off my cake with a fork. From today, birthdays won't bring joy again, because it's also Linda's parents' death anniversary. Every year, she'll grieve, and they'll console her. The next day, coming downstairs, they were comforting Linda. Only when they saw me did they remember. "Sorry for missing your birthday, Alice. Here's a gift. Don't be mad, okay?" I softly replied, "It's fine. This wouldn't be the last time." Now they might feel guilty, but soon they'd just get used to it. In my past life, after waiting all night, I threw a tantrum. My parents said Linda's heart had acted up from grief. I didn't understand heartsickness, only that they left me for her. I hated her. Their patience wore thin. Worried for Linda, they lost patience with me. "Alice, why are you being so spoiled?" they snapped. "In this life, I won't be needy again, seeking cheap love." Mom came and hugged me, gently said, "Yesterday was Linda's parents' anniversary. Her heart, we found her just in time." "I'm sorry, sister," Linda whispered timidly. Enzo immediately jumped in. "Linda didn't mean to." "Alice, don't be mad." I didn't cry or fuss. This incident passed. The gift they gave lay unopened in a corner. 2. I treated Linda like she wasn't even there, never giving her the time of day. My parents were worried sick, trying to get us to act like loving sisters. To help us bond, they put us in the same class. "Linda's not in the best health. Be easy on your sister," they said. Is it my fault she's not healthy? Do I owe her something? Why should I go easy on her? I tilted my head, asking the questions that had been bothering me forever. The room went silent for a moment. Mom gave me a disapproving look. Alice, Linda lost her parents, she's already so unfortunate. We're a family now, and families care for each other. She lost her biological parents, but she's got loving foster parents now. My biological parents are still around, but they seem to love her more. Is she really worse off than me? No matter how many times I relive it, I can't stand Linda. I skipped a grade to middle school just to get away from her. I'm pretty smart in both past and present lives, so these subjects are easy for me. As for Linda, maybe her best talent is winning people over. Her grades aren't great, and she gets jealous of all the praise I get, so she studies non-stop. Eventually, with some hard work, she barely passes her exams. At night, Dad happily announces I got first place again. Alice is really smart. I try to smile, but I can't because Linda is beside me, looking pale and holding her chest. Soon, my parents' attention shifts. Linda, are you okay? Don't scare us like that, sweetie. Hurry, let's get to the hospital. In the blink of an eye, our lively home became empty, except for the housekeeper who watched me with pity. Miss, why don't you have some dinner? Your folks will be back soon, she said. I ate the meal slowly, not even feeling sad. The next day was Saturday, so no school. Enzo watched me sitting on the couch reading, unfazed, and frowned. Alice, don't you worry at all about Linda being in the hospital? I shrugged. She won't die. Why worry? In the past, she had heart shocks so many times, about 100 if not 50. I ended up exiled abroad for my mistakes and died alone in a foreign land, while she married my fiancé. Enzo lost his cool at that. When did you become so cold? You've been together for so long. Do you have no heart? No way, he insisted. You're coming with me to the hospital. She's your sister too. Looking at Enzo's firm grip, I resolved to learn some self-defense. Next time, I'll break his hand. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and made me nauseous. When I got there, Linda was awake. The doctor said she was just exhausted and stressed out, so she needed some rest. Sorry, Mom. Linda's just too dumb and can never learn well, she muttered pitifully. I promise I'll try harder. She worked hard, and now she's in the hospital. Mom didn't dare let her continue this way. Linda, you almost scared me to death. You can't do this again. Studying isn't important. I love you even if you don't have good grades. But I'm not as smart as my sister. Will Mom not want me because of that? I'm scared. I don't want to be away from you. Mom looked at me with a changed expression. Alice, did you say something to her? Watching their emotional interaction, I grinned and said, I'd like to know what I supposedly said too. Linda shrunk back, pretending to fear me, and whispered, no, nothing. Mom looked conflicted. Alice, don't scare Linda, she's not in the best of health. That again. Just because she's sick, everyone keeps telling me to go easy on her and not to be mean. In my past life, I even wished I had heart problems, thinking maybe they wouldn't be so biased if I did. I'd rather take medicine and go to the hospital than be treated so cold. I looked coolly at my mom. Do you think I'm bullying her? Mom stayed silent and Enzo complained, we've seen how bossy and spoiled you get even from a young age. Didn't they raise me to be this way? Without comparison, they thought I was perfect. Now, I'm second best. But I'm a person, not a toy for comparison. I didn't kick her out when she came here, I'm not doing it now, and I won't in the future. She'll always be the Alden princess. So can I go study now? I turned to leave. Mom seemed to realize something. Since Linda arrived, I've never run into her arms like before. Our past closeness felt like a lifetime ago. She used to notice any little thing wrong with me right away. Now it took all this time to see it. Alice. She grabbed my hand, as if to say more, but was interrupted by Linda, Mom. The warmth in my hand faded, and I walked away quickly. From an outsider's perspective, I finally saw how young Linda knew exactly how to get people to love her. While I was busy studying, she'd cling to Mom, telling her how much she loves her. When I was in competitions, she followed my brother around, calling him over and over. She wore an innocent face and had heart problems, instantly drawing sympathy. In just a year, her place in the family surpassed mine. Even though this time around, I didn't fight for attention or do anything wrong, their hearts drifted towards her. In the season when the osmanthus bloomed, I came home to a house full of laughter. My elegant and wealthy mom was in tears over a bowl of noodles Linda made. A surprise for Mom, Linda was adorable with flour on her cheeks. Mom, I've been practicing secretly just to surprise you. Do you like it? Mom cherished her so much, patting her head with tears. I love it. 3. She had it all, wealthy family, a loving husband, smart kids. But she shed tears over a simple bowl of noodles that weren't even that tasty. This was a child's purest gesture. The effort she put into Linda was perfectly rewarded. Mom, I'm still a kid now, but when I grow up, I'll buy you the biggest gem, even bigger than the one you have. Mom's already got the most precious gift in the world. No gem can beat it. Enzo beamed with pride. Linda is the best little sister in the world. Dad looked at them with satisfaction. What a loving family. When I walked in, the laughter stopped abruptly, making me feel like an outsider. Big sister, you're home late. Are you secretly planning a surprise for Mom? Linda asked playfully. With curious eyes on me, I pretended not to understand. What surprise? Mom couldn't hide her disappointment, though she said nothing. Enzo sneered. Linda made long-life noodles for Mom, even burned her fingers, yet you forgot her birthday. Of course, I remembered. In the past, Linda made the noodles too, winning everyone's praise. To outdo her, I tried baking a cake to make Mom happy, hoping she'd love me like before. But I was pampered for so long, barely knew how to cook, and nearly burned the house down for a cake. They all scolded me afterward, and no one cared about my sadness and jealousy. I coldly looked at Enzo. Why compare me to her? What did you do? Why aren't you compared to her? Not just him. Even Mom and Dad compared me and Linda, who was more well-behaved, who was more lovable. Enzo was stunned for a moment, then took out a necklace. Look, this is what I got for Mom. It was an expensive, but meaningless necklace, the kind you see everywhere in the mall. Mom didn't need these, but she happily accepted it because it was her son's thought. I smiled and took out the same kind of gift, expensive yet ordinary. Mom's eyes showed disappointment, but she still smiled. Mom loves it. Enzo scoffed. Linda's is better. Linda always tried to please me, but I ignored her, which upset Enzo, and he held grudges against me, now taking the chance to mock me for Linda's sake. My eyes swept over each of them. So, do you want me to be like her, cooking and all, to satisfy you? Seeing my cold look, Mom and Dad quickly explained. Alice, it's not like that. Enzo, stop saying nonsense. Apologize to your sister. Enzo pouted. What did I do wrong? She acts like everyone owes her. What did we ever do to her? After Linda came, she stopped calling me brother and doesn't talk at home. Linda tries so hard to please her, but she feels nothing. When Linda was sick, she didn't care at all. I don't have such a cold-hearted sister. Smack. Dad slapped Enzo and then tried to comfort me. Alice, don't listen to your brother's nonsense. Mom hugged me gently. Alice is always our little princess. That sentence trapped me all my life. I gently nuzzled against her cheek, like I did before I turned 10, close as could be. But Mom, naive Alice died at 10. Jealous, greedy Alice died at 20. Mom was taken aback by my gesture, then hugged me tightly, thinking our family could return to the way it was. Alice, Mommy's little darling. Counting in my mind 1, 2, 3, sure enough, Linda clutched her chest and collapsed. I heard Dad and Enzo panic. Mom let go of me too. They hurriedly left with Linda, just like every other time, and countless times to come. After this, Mom and Dad realized the gap between me and the family, but they couldn't give up Linda. She was too sweet, too endearing. They only hoped I'd figure it out as I grew up. I was busy studying, busy with college exams, too focused to care about their family harmony. In no time, it was my 18th birthday. Linda was seriously ill in the hospital, but luckily a matching heart was found. As long as the surgery went well, she'd gradually get better. Alice, Linda's situation is serious this time, so we'll celebrate your coming of age later. The family was exhausted with worry over Linda's illness, except I looked perfectly healthy. I nodded indifferently. Whatever. Linda had a lucky streak. The surgery was a success. Mom cried tears of joy. Linda, I'm so happy. I've worried day and night for years about losing you. Even serious Dad had tears in his eyes. In the future, when I pass, I can face your birth parents. Linda smiled happily in their arms. Dad, Mom, I can stay with you forever. What a perfect ending. 2 months later, the Alden family held a grand coming-of-age ceremony for Linda. Alice, we didn't get to celebrate yours last time. Let's combine them this time for more fun. I shook my head and refused. I don't need a party, and I won't attend. Enzo frowned. Do you want people to think we Aldens are dysfunctional? Mom and Dad weren't pleased. Alice, you haven't participated in family matters for years. Every day, it's just busy, busy. What's more important than family? Plenty in my life, my studies, my experiments. Each is more important than family. I moved out when I started college at 15. They couldn't control me anymore, for I made it clear I wasn't doing it and there was nothing they could do about it. On Linda's coming-of-age day, even though I said I wasn't going, I showed up anyway. I came to witness a love story that could move the heavens. Everyone in the Alden family was surprised to see me. They looked awkward because, right there in front of us, was Linda wrapped in a passionate embrace with a young man. That young man was my fiancé, Luca. Linda let go of Luca's hand in a panic when she saw me. Sister, Luca, however, stayed calm and explained without rush. I liked Linda first. It's not her fault. If you're gonna blame someone, blame me. This was the first time in this life I met the one who betrayed me. In my past life, when everyone at the Alden family favored Linda, he told me he liked the proud rose. That was me. I thought of him as a lifeline to prove I hadn't completely lost to Linda. But eventually, he fell for Linda. I was insanely jealous. Why should she just take everything from me? If she died, could I have everything back again? I pushed Linda off the stairs, but she was lucky she didn't die. Alice, I don't have such a vicious daughter. After that incident, everyone pitied Linda and felt guilty. She smoothly ended up with Luca. At the same time, afraid I might hurt Linda again, they forcefully sent me abroad. Later, I was mugged on the streets of London and made one last call before I died. That day was Linda's wedding day. The Alden family gave her a grand wedding and just told me, stop causing trouble. Then they hung up without hesitation. I turned away from the lovebirds and looked at my biological parents. You knew all along. Everyone kept it from me. Mom and Dad looked embarrassed. Enzo couldn't wait to jump in. Can you blame us? Since you moved out at 15, how often did you come back? Do you even remember this is your home? Luca never saw you when he came around. Linda's so sweet. It's normal for them to fall for each other over time. Besides, you don't even like Luca. Give him to Linda. I interrupted his rambling. Fine. Everyone looked at me in disbelief, surprised I agreed so easily. I chuckled. Everything she loves and wants, I can give it to her. Alice, Mom opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. Mom and Dad will make it up to you. I shook my head. No need. Then I took out a document and handed it to them. This is a record of all my expenses growing up. Take a look, and if it falls short, let me know. Mom and Dad turned pale. In a stern voice, they said, Alice, what are you doing? Isn't it obvious? I'm cutting ties. Mom's eyes reddened. Is it because of Luca? We were wrong to hide it from you, but you can't break your mother's heart like that. I smiled gently. Mom, stop lying to yourself. You're used to this family being without me. Enzo yelled angrily. Alice, you gave up on us first. Since you were 10, you never called me brother. It's been 8 years. No matter how much Mom and Dad tried to please you, you were always cold, rejecting everyone. What right do you have to blame us now? Dad's posture straightened before slumping. Alice, I know you don't like Linda, but we didn't think you'd hold such a grudge. They looked at me with disappointment, a look I was more than familiar with. Do you know how to destroy a child? Give her countless sweets, let her get used to the taste, then take it all away. The Alden family looked like they'd been struck by lightning. Mom hurriedly said, no, that's not true. Alice, Mom loves you, we all love you. Of course you do, but you spread that love easily to others. If you adopted a boy, would my brother accept sharing his things with him? Would Dad willingly split the company in half? Would Mom want me to call someone else Mom? They stayed silent, unable to say yes. These are your most important things. No way you'd share them. So why should I accept sharing my family, which should only be mine, with someone else? I used to love you the most, but sadly, I wasn't the one you loved most. Mom clutched my hand, crying, no, Alice, don't abandon Mom, you can't. Dad's eyes were red too. I was wrong, Alice. Please, don't do this. Enzo was in a panic. It's not like that. You gave up on us first. If you had issues, why didn't you tell us? I replied slowly, my birthday is the anniversary of her parents' death, and I've never had a happy birthday since. When I skipped grades and topped the class, you comforted a sad Linda. I like Taekwondo, but you made me learn music with Linda because her health wasn't great. I'm just 2 months older than her, yet you always made me give way to her. I'm healthy, so all your attention went to her. I once prayed so hard to the gods, wishing to give her my healthy body, just so she'd leave. Mom, I was just a kid back then too. As a kid, I learned to envy. With each word, their faces grew uglier. They wanted to argue, but it was all true. When you brought Linda home at 10, you started giving up on me. These 8 years have just been a long goodbye. Goodbyes always come eventually. Mom cried desperately, my daughter, my Alice, don't leave Mom. Mom truly knows her fault now. Mom will never do this again. 5. I gently wiped away her tears. Mom, that winter in London was too cold, so cold my heart turned to stone. Enzo hesitated as he asked me, do you really not want us anymore? His eyes showed real pain and sadness, but it was too late. Without a second thought, I turned and walked away, ignoring the cries and despair behind me. From the day I learned to love myself, they stopped being important to me. I have a career, dreams, and every day of my future will be bright and brilliant. Side story. The big Alden house is no longer filled with laughter and joy. Everyone looks downcast. Mom kept calling over and over, only to hear the cold voice say, the number you have dialed is not available, please try again later. She weakly leaned against Dad, once a dazzling lady, now looking worn out. The day Alice cut ties with them, they had the most realistic nightmare. In the dream, Alice wasn't as quiet as she is now. On the day Linda arrived, she cried and protested about not wanting a sister. But nobody cared. They were busy comforting the frail and sickly Linda, assuming Alice would get used to it. Linda had just lost her parents and was sensitive. To help her integrate into the family, they focused more on her. It started with giving Linda an extra dish or saying a few more words. Alice, who had always been the apple of everyone's eye, couldn't take it. She didn't want Mom cuddling Linda, Dad buying her things, or her brother telling her stories. These were all hers. After a while, even the Aldens got tired and started scolding Alice. Eventually, Alice's unique room became Linda's. Her princess dresses and crowns also went to Linda. They provided Alice with enough material things, but overlooked the child's feelings. 10-year-old Alice learned to be jealous and began competing with Linda for affection. But spoiled and unruly, she couldn't compare to Linda's sweet and docile nature. The more time they spent with Linda and the more love they showered on her, the more they frowned and scolded Alice. In such an environment, Alice grew more extreme, and her jealousy turned into deep-seated hate. Mom watched the twisted Alice in the dream, feeling unbearable heartache, unable to stop anything. She could only watch as Alice was sent abroad after hurting Linda, left alone and helpless. When the robber pulled a knife, Mom threw herself on Alice, but it was useless. Alice clutched her stomach, writhing in pain on the ground. She used her last strength to make a rescue call to family, only to hear 3 words, "Stop messing around. Stop messing around." After doing all the wrong things, she finally died on a cold street, unnoticed. Mom woke from the nightmare, feeling like a wound had been torn open in her heart, letting in a chilling wind. She wailed, speechless. How could her daughter meet such a tragic end? But the real Alice, who cut ties with them, and the Alice who died in the dream at 20 overlapped at this moment. Her daughter really experienced such a desperate life. Dad, too, was in tears, realizing they could never win their daughter back. They had abandoned her in a past life. Enzo opened his sister's room, untouched for ages. The cabinet was lined with boxes, gifts they had once given Alice. He randomly picked a dusty box and stood there shocked. Inside was a bamboo flute made by a master musician, expensive. But it was Linda who loved music. Enzo, eyes turning red, slapped himself. He dreaded imagining how Alice felt when she saw it. They were blood relatives. He watched her take her first steps, heard her first call for brother. But later, she walked alone into the afterlife. Linda uneasily glanced at her parents. Since Alice broke ties, everyone treated her differently. The love and care vanished. Dad, Mom, I'll apologize to sister, beg her to come back. Don't be sad. Mom glared at her, shut up. For the first time, Linda was scolded and couldn't help but tear up. Even her brother, who adored her, now looked at her differently, filling her with deep anxiety. Dad handed her a contract. We've cared for you 8 years. You're an adult now. You can leave. Dad, Mom, I know I was wrong. Please don't leave me. I can't lose you, Linda said, face pale, voicing her fear. Mom's face was filled with disgust. It was because of raising her that they lost their birth daughter. Alice suffered so much. Now Alice doesn't want them. They're getting their comeuppance. Why should Linda stay in the Alden family so easily, with no consequence? From now on, we'll never let you possess anything that belongs to Alice, even if she doesn't want it. Despite Linda's desperate pleas, she was still kicked out of the Alden house. The Alden family disowned her. Luca's mom looked down on her because she was an orphan and didn't approve of her being with Luca. Even though Luca said he only loved her, it wasn't long before he married a wealthy heiress. She became his hidden mistress. Linda smelled another woman's perfume on Luca and wondered, if she hadn't fought so hard with Alice for affection when she first arrived at the Aldens, would she still end up like this? Things went downhill when Luca's wife found out about his illegitimate child and made a scene, taking a large chunk of wealth. Even the Aldens added fuel to the fire, resenting Luca's family for their loss of a daughter. 3 years later, the Alden family saw Alice on TV. She was now a young and promising scientist with a bright future ahead. Her mom cried her heart out, my Alice. Other than the occasional news, they never saw Alice again. Years later, Enzo saw his parents through their last days, but Alice never came back. Looking back in confusion, Enzo found the vast Alden house was now only home to him. Being left alone is this feeling. The end.